Hi everyone. So in this lecture we will discuss about JUnit 5 parameterized test. So friend, in this section of course we will see that how we can write the parameterized test which are somewhat different than normal tests. So friends, what are parameterized tests in JUnit 5? So friends, parameterized tests allow developer to run same test multiple times with different arguments. So friends, here what it means that let's say we have written one test case and now we want to run this test case with different arguments. So instead of writing that test case multiple times, what parameterized test provide us is we can write the same test multiple times with just different arguments. So what's the advantage? The advantage is it saves a lot of time in writing different test cases which only differ in their input arguments. So friend, let's say we have a piece of code where we pass an input and we get an output. Now in order to test this method with different inputs and expecting different outputs, what we usually do is we either write multiple test cases or we provide multiple asserts. So the disadvantage here is we are writing more code to test the same method. So here parameterized test allow us to write only single test and we can pass different parameters to it. So this parameterized test will run automatically for each different argument so that we don't have to write multiple test cases with just different arguments. So friend, parameterized tests are also normal test methods, but instead of annotating them with @test, we annotate them using @parameterized test. And once the JUnit sees @parameterized test, it treats the test case differently. So friend, in order to use @parameterized test annotation, you need to include JUnit-Jupyter-params jar into the class path because this feature comes altogether in a different jar. So friend, also we discussed that parameterized test allows us to run same test multiple times with different arguments. So we need to pass those different arguments to @parameterized test method. So one way of passing the different arguments to @parameterized test method is we provide it as source. And if we don't provide the source, the parameterized test won't run. So friend, what is this source? You can think of it as a source is a simply collection of different arguments. So in our upcoming lectures, we will be seeing that how we can provide different sources to @parameterized test, and we'll see the demonstration that how parameterized test uses those source, uses those different arguments and run the test multiple times. So friend, now let's see what are the different types of sources. So friend, the first source is @value source. So what happens here is whenever we annotate a method @parameterized test, we need to annotate that method with at least one source. So let's say if we annotate the method with @value source, then what @value source does is it allows us to pass different values in form of an array. So friend, let's say we want to supply multiple values simultaneously, then we can use @value source, which will allow us to pass different values to our parameterized test in the form of an array. Some other sources are @null source, @empty source, and @null and empty source. So friends, when we use this annotation, what they do is they simply allow us to pass null and empty values. So if we provide @null source, we simply inject a null value. If we use @empty source, we are simply providing an empty values. And if we want to send both values, null and empty values, we can simply annotate it with @null and empty source. The third one is @enum source. So this annotation allows us to pass different values in a form of enum constants. So friends, to our parameterized test, We can even pass different arguments or values in the form of enums using @enum source annotation. The fourth one is @method source. So this annotation allows us to pass different values from a method. So friends, here we write a particular method which return some values, and that values we pass to our @parameterized test in the form of source. The fifth source is @CSV source. So this annotation allows us to pass different values in form of a comma separated values. So here we can pass different values by just separating it out using comma, and we can inject those values using @CSV source. And the sixth one is @CSV file source. So instead of passing different values in form of a comma separated way, we can simply create an external CSV file. We can put our comma separated values in that CSV file, and we can simply pass that CSV file resource using @CSV file source annotation. So friends, these are the various types of sources JUnit provides out of box. We will discuss more about these sources in our upcoming lectures, and we will see the demonstration of these sources in Eclipse. So friends, I hope you like this video. Thanks, have a nice day.